What's up, everybody? Dungeon Master Tim here from Amanus D20 Ttrpg, just swinging and saying what's up. But I want to talk to you today about, we know that our game is the idea of the Dungeon Master and building quests and telling a story. But every now and again, you kind of need a break from quest lines and heavy combat and heavy role-playing. So today I'm going to do a little video talking about just a couple things that I really enjoy doing and my players really enjoy doing at the table to kind of do some downtime, I guess you could say, from, heavy campaigning, but still put some gold in your pocket at the same time with kind of a little bit of a rest and relax without risking your bacon so much as it would be. So I'm just going to go ahead and list off a couple of things. I got 3 that I really like to do in my game. If you have anything that you guys like to do in your game, go ahead, comment down below, let us know. I'm always looking for more ideas for our game. I love to hear from the community. There's no better voice than the people that play this game. So anything you guys like to do at your table to like kind of a little bit of downtime from, questing and just constant combat. So just go ahead and let me know down below, but let's go ahead and jump into it. So one of the first things that I like to do is kind of like a skill-based challenge, and I do like a hunting game. My guys have only done it one time. But to me, it's one thing that I really like to outlay, and it's a pretty simple forward game. It's a skills challenge in the most regard, and basically what it is it's a business on the side in our campaign, but you go out and you hunt, but you're given 10 spears. You have 10 spears to bring down whatever animal you're trying to hunt. And depending on what that animal is declares the DC of what it takes. You have to hit it at least 6 times to bring it down. So my perfect example, and the one that I use the most, is my guys have a thing for mammoth hunting a little bit. We did that in our first campaign. And the way I did it was exactly that. They got 10 spears, and it was you had to hit it 6 times, or at least 6 times, and hopefully it didn't run through you beforehand. So there was occasionally you'd have to roll a dex save of like 10 to 15, depending on how close it was to charging them. But that's just one way they can make money, because they can go, if they get all 6 and they get the kill, it gives them, they could sell the fur, the hide, they could sell all the meat, they could sell the bones, all that stuff. It's all sellable. So that's a great way for them to make a good chunk of money, because that's a lot to sell off of it, while at the same time giving them a little bit of a side, I don't like using the word quest, but a side objective that doesn't like operate in the storytelling aspect of it telling a story, but just more to like use your time at the table together and do something different. But that is one way to do it. And to me, it's cool because it's also kind of a skills challenge. And with being able to throw those dex saves in there, as you do, and the way I kind of like to do it is if there's so many, if say they roll the first roll and they fail, and they fail the next one, that thing's going to charge at them, all right? But that's the way to do it is, you kind of throw dex saves of like 15 in there, as it's charging them to try to roll away. It's a good way to it's a good way to make money, and it's a good way to like kind of just get away from the straight combat of things. It's more of it's a skill challenge, but it gets you away from that constant grind of story, objective, mission, combat. It kind of just separates the table. Which I'm going to go ahead and go right into my next one, which is, and everybody could have kind of guessed this one, but my guys kind of like it because they're brutes and they kind of like to create a little chaos, is I like fight clubs, and especially in the world we're in right now, the continent that we're on right now in our world. Fight clubs are in every city. The city is, who is the brutest, who's the baddest, who's the best fighter type thing in the whole continent. Everybody's got ego and pride, and they all want to express it. So fight clubs are a great way to do that, and it's also a great way to kind of deviate from the normal combat structure in my regard, because I like the idea of, one of my players plays a barbarian, so it kind of works out perfectly, is you do the hand-to-hand. There's no weapons, there's hand-to-hand. You don't kill the enemy, but you knock him down too. Usually I get to about 5 hit points, and then I call it. But the cool thing that works around there is the other people at the table, along with, the DM, me, playing different NPCs, is there's betting going around. So there's a lot of money being moved around while whoever's in, the cage fighting at the moment. But that's a great way to, kind of take a break from the storytelling aspect. Have them do a fight club. Be like, have a random person walk up to him and be like, there's something going on underground, and there's a chance to make some money here. Can't really talk about what it is, but here's your opportunity, show up here. it's a great way to get your players to kind of deviate from the standard combat of, the spell, of using spells, of using, their abilities and that, where it's just straight up melee and God, please let the dice roll in my favor so I don't get knocked out here type thing. And it's a great way to kind of play the odds. And the betting can kind of get out of hand at times. I mean, especially in our first campaign we did this, and I couldn't believe just how that is. But with that, flowing right into that and using that Fight Club is the other thing I like to do is I do arm wrestling, which I'm sure every DM has their version of arm wrestling. I said I was going to do 3, but this is kind of in and of itself. Arm wrestling is another great thing, just strength checks, and I've never, it's a great way to get the table involved, and they really feel it. I literally sit here and have them roll as I pretend to, go one way or the other. It's a great way to do it, but you can do it with the Fight Club. You could have the Fight Club while at the same time there's a little guy at the table or somebody at a table, running a arm wrestling tournament to make some extra money. These are just some things you could do. But with that also is we're using dice, so let's use the dice in the way that most people use dice. Another thing that I do a lot in my games, and is actually like my players go to when it comes to like downtime or anytime they have a little bit of free time in a city, is if that city has a casino or a place where they could just roll some dice and play some random games as chance and win some money on some bets, they'll go for it. I suggest, to me, I think every DM should have some version of a casino, a gambling house, or whatever you want to call it in your campaign. It's always just kind of like a fresh relax, and it kind of just resets the table a little bit, and it's always a little wind down from if you have these sections where a lot of big stuff happens, and the players really get consumed and really caught up. It kind of winds them down, but it also gives them a chance to make a lot of money. My players really enjoy a casino idea. We do multiple games. I have one called Roll to the Top, which is essentially, it's blackjack, but you roll D10s, and you don't want to go over, or you want to hit 20, basically is what it is. Whoever gets closest to 20 wins, but you can roll more D10s if you add more to your bet. So there's that. We play a couple of games where you hide dice, and you have to add the numbers up. I got a spinning wheel. We do a version of roulette. But it's a good way to get players to have money, because, to me, one thing a lot of people in this game like is, I don't know about other DMs, but my players hoard money. They have a habit of hoarding it. And then it's kind of funny in a world where they could get almost anything they want. Now, with me being the type of DM where if we can create something, I'm all for creating it as well. We don't just have to stick with the items in the book. If we can create something and it's not a completely OP or ridiculous thing, I'm all for creating it. But it's a good way to keep, these are just a few ways that I like to give my players some downtime. The casino, hunting, with Fight Club, arm wrestling. There's many ways you could do. These are just a couple that we really take advantage of at my table. It's something we really come back to. But I just wanted to post this video. The game doesn't always have to be storytelling, I guess, is my big point in this video, is you can have just as a DM, don't overstretch yourself and be like, I always got to tell a story. I always have to tell a story. I got to keep the train going. I got to keep the momentum moving. But at the same time, you need to have those times of just calming, because even in life, when things get very stressful, you need those moments where you can disconnect, whether it's playing video games, doing something you enjoy. Me, skateboarding, playing video games, writing is even my thing. But that's the thing. So you need that in the game too, because if you're just constantly bogging your players down with constant quest lines, constant big enemy fights, constant, confrontation where it's, they're fighting for their life in this, the game becomes a little overwhelming. So you need those moments and those, I believe, full sessions where your players can unwind and just do things. And I'm not just talking about the shopping and that. I'm talking about actually having the ways to make money that don't risk their bacon, like I said at the beginning, or there's not a lot of chance of something bad happening from them doing this. And it's a great way to also make your players feel more involved. It gives them more outlet in it. To me, I personally, I come here with these videos hoping to help dungeon masters that are new into the game. And I want to make life easier and make things easier to understand, so you're not having to constantly search for things, because I was constantly searching for things. But I'm going to leave it here with you guys today. Those are just thank you for watching the video. Those are just a few creative ideas to help your play, that you could do as a dungeon master to bring money into your game, where your players don't have to do a massive quest, where you could just kind of make some money move around the game in quick aspects of the game, I suppose, is the way to think of it. But thank you guys. Everybody have a great one.